because ultimately, even influential filmmakers and TV producers do not make the final choice. The only final choice you make is what you have on the Cameron network, what you choose to watch at home, and what you choose to take into your mind, into your imagination, and ultimately into your soul.
Michael, can you think of a specific example of how entertainment, how movies and television has shaped the way that we think in popular culture?
Sure, there's actually one example of that I think was just in the news fairly recently from where we're talking right now. Think about the life and the recent death of Sidney Poitier at the age of 94. One of the things that was a tribute to him, and appropriately so, in all of the respectful eulogies and obituaries, Sidney Poitier was not only a great actor, he was a great American because he changed the way that people saw Black people. He did. Yes, he played almost entirely admirable people, doctors and lawyers, and the police detective, Mr. Tibbs, in The Heat of the Night, and the Oscar-winning role of a handyman who rescues a church and a convent, really in the middle of nowhere, in his Oscar-winning role in Lilies of the Field. And uh, people, he not only expanded the roles that Black actors could get, but the way that people saw Black people at a time when America was going through a much needed civil rights revolution. And if anyone denies the impact of the imagery in movies that Sidney Poitier put on the screen with his various roles, then you've obviously ignored all of the talk and the analysis that I think is fair and accurate regarding his very real impact. On the other side, if you look at the culture of gangster rap, which is very much part of our pop culture and has been for a while, uh, and the idea of the tragic deaths and the shootings and the drug overdoses and the negativity, what the prominence of that style of music and that substance of music means is it normalizes incredibly destructive behavior. We have a gigantic drug problem in America. Showing drug abuse, even if you show some of its harsher aspects, the regular appearance of drug abuse doesn't help because it makes people more conscious the fact that, well, this is part of normal life everywhere.
For those of us who are in the business of making movies and creating entertainment, film, are these projects actually shaping culture, or are we just making things that reflect the culture that's already there so that we can represent those cultures? Or are we just making projects that we know are going to sell more tickets and sell more T-shirts and advertising dollars, regardless of what's going on in the culture or what we want to go on in the culture?
That is a great question, Kirk. And the answer to all parts of that question is yes. There are all those motivations that are there. But the truth of the matter is that it's one of the problems with the amount of consumption we have of pop culture when you spend so much of your life, 13 years of life, actually watching entertainment. Is one of the great movies from this year is The Tragedy of Macbeth with Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand. They both deserve Oscar consideration. Great movie. And Macbeth is not a happy movie. I mean, Macbeth is a very evil guy. There are witches. There are diabolical elements in Macbeth. Comes out in this movie. Okay, and that's a quality movie. And the difficulty, however, is that if you go back all the way to Shakespeare, Tolstoy at the beginning of Anna Karenina writes that all happy families are the same. All unhappy families are unhappy in their unique and compelling ways. largely entertainment is about conflict, like Macbeth, if you want, or like Greek tragedy. And when you are spending hours and hours a day watching material that shows conflict and violence and sometimes destructive sexuality, and basically what we need to reaffirm is that normal life in America is not that bad.
And interestingly, it's in the context of conflict that the best character qualities are put on display. Character qualities like sacrificial love and courage and empathy, and these are our heroes. And so I think conflict is a natural part of life, but I think it's best presented as a setup for great character qualities. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I just wrote something like that. And that, by the way, is the problem. I wrote a piece for Commentary Magazine about what's ailing Oscar, why it is that people are not watching the Oscars anymore. And partially it's the same problem of the disappearance of American heroes. I love and admire films that put heroes on screen in a plausible and sometimes accurate way. I love the film Lincoln, which was a masterpiece by Steven Spielberg. If you look at another Spielberg film, Saving Private Ryan, this idea of seeing people who are admirable, who can take very harsh circumstances and transform them for the good, that I think is one of the reasons people went to the movies in the first place. The American movies ended up dominating the world, not because of the bad guys or the monsters or the
That's right.
lowlives that we put on screen, but it was because of the heroes played by people like Jimmy Stewart and Clark Gable and Gary Cooper and stars of the golden age,
Yeah.
who sometimes created these larger than life characters.
Michael, do you think that there's any hope for us taking back the entertainment industry and using it as a great force for good, or is that already happening in some circles?
It's already happening. I mean, if I look at what you've contributed, you, Kirk, I'll tell you how I know to take the faith-based aspect of the movie business seriously, is people are making fun of it. There was actually a pretty funny movie that was satirical called Faith-Based, about two kind of losers in Hollywood who say, I know how to get people to come see a movie. We're going to do a faith-based movie. And the fact that exists, and the fact that there are so many alternatives, and they're quality alternatives that didn't used to exist at all. The one thing, yeah, there's all kinds of sleaze and material that isn't so wholesome that's also available. But really, today, anytime, day and night, you can probably find something of real quality on television. At midnight, at 4 in the morning, whenever it is, because there are so many different alternatives. And I do believe that the real change here is not on the supply side, it has to be on the demand side. Because ultimately, even influential filmmakers and TV producers do not make the final choice. The only final choice you make is what you have on the Cameron network, what you choose to watch at home, and what you choose to take into your mind, into your imagination, and ultimately into your soul.
I love that, because what you're doing is you're putting the power right into the hearts and into the hands of those of us who are sitting in front of the screen. And so if we understand that entertainment, movies, music, television is a business just like anything else, if someone's selling T-shirts and green T-shirts sell more than red T-shirts, well, then they're going to make more green T-shirts. And so if we want wholesome entertainment, and we make sure that we're spending time watching those things and supporting those projects that reflect the values that we want to see more of, that business will take their cues from us and begin to produce more and more of those things. At least that's a principle that's sound and that we should be leaning into. Michael, thank you so much for your insights today. I so appreciate you. I appreciate your work. Thanks for being here today.